Okay, let's even take it further. Let's just go crazy. Like, what's the worst thing that you can imagine that they're thinking?
None of them even want to ever be my friend.
Rebecca, hi, I'm so glad that we get this time together. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Me too.
So you offered to just have a dialogue with me about a situation with your son, we're calling Jacob. And I know that you're familiar with my work, right? Do you want to just sort of share a little bit about what you already know? Because for some people hearing this, they don't know anything about what I do, and maybe we can kind of.
Okay. Well, I've listened to a lot of your content on your podcast. I absolutely love your show and your parenting philosophy. The main message that sticks in my head day in, day out that you put out there is this captain of the ship idea of being like a sturdy leader in my child's life. Setting healthy boundaries, but also leading from a place of like, it's, we're two humans, or I have two kids. So, navigating the world together, and I can help them kind of lead that. But yeah.
Great. Okay. And we're talking about your son, who we'll call Jacob, because I'm super protective of people's privacy. And how old is Jacob?
So he's 9. He's in the 3rd grade.
Okay. And you wrote me to, with a situation that you wanted some help with. So can you just briefly describe, some of the high points or the key points of that?
Yeah. So starting about 3 weeks ago, he's been really resistant about getting ready for school in the morning. So, hard to get him out of bed. Then it's a struggle to get him to put his clothes on. Then when it gets to leaving out the door, he's really resistant and a million excuses. So that's been hard. And as my husband and I have talked to him in those moments where he's receptive to kind of talking through things, he's revealing that he's feeling really teased at school.
Oh.
Yeah. And so it's been, he doesn't want to go because it's not a comfortable place for him. And talking with his teacher, she's not noticing anything. I think, according to my son as well, it's happening a lot at recess. And so he's a sensitive guy. I don't want to diminish that. I think it's a beautiful quality, but I want to help him see how maybe he could make some safer friends, how we could navigate that social world, and maybe not take everything so personally.
Okay. So it's not your impression that the things that are happening on the playground are overtly bullying, that he's not being, it's more that he might be not included in something that he wants to do, or that he's not invited to join a group that's running around or playing a game?
Exactly. That kind of stuff. I don't think it's bullying.
Okay.
It'll be a situation where, say, they're playing a pickup soccer at recess and he's assigned as goalie. And if another kid scores on him, his teammates are like, "Oh, Jacob, you're so bad at that." Like, just that banter third graders would have.
Okay. Really helpful to know, because obviously if it was more than that, we would approach it differently. But I love what you're saying. And I love the question. I think it'll be universally interesting to people, because a lot of kids are sensitive. And what you're describing is the dilemma that parents of sensitive children have, which is, how do I encourage and allow and support my child in being exactly who he or she is, not trying to change them or toughen up, kid, or, let things roll off you. I did. We're not approaching them as if there's something wrong with them. There's not. It's an incredible trait, and it contributes enormously to the survival of our species to have sensitive humans in it. And to navigate the world as he's getting older, he's going to have to learn exactly what you said. So wise when you say not taking things so personally, because we can't change what other people do. Wish we could, can't. So what we can do, and what you're trying to do from what I hear, is empower him to maybe make a different meaning out of the things that are said to him. Sometimes when I have kids in my office, I'll who get really triggered, they didn't pass the ball, nobody passes the ball to me, right? And that sort of creates a waterfall effect of bad feelings, and something's wrong with me, and I'm not likable, and certainly other third graders may fuel that kind of perception. So I invite kids, I do this thing called the bad bees. It's a game, and I'm just going to teach it to you and you can try it, and then, we can stay in touch. But the idea is that the first thing that happens is let's say I have a child and a parent in my office, and I will demonstrate something to the child and the parent about how our feelings are so often dictated by what we're telling ourselves is going on, the meaning that we're making, the interpretation of an event has so much power over how we eventually feel emotionally. And the way I'll do that is I'll tell Johnny, let's say Johnny's in my office with his mom, Sarah, and I'll say, okay, Johnny, let me just sort of show you something. And let's say I look at your mom's shoes, Sarah's shoes, and I say to Sarah, wow, Sarah, I really like those shoes. In fact, I had a pair just like them. Strangely, they disappeared after the last time you were here.
Mm.
And now Johnny's like, they're kind of looking at me, and they know me, they know that I'm going in a good direction. So nobody's worried, but it's still a triggering, the implication is easy to go to, which is, oh, you think so I'll say to Johnny, so if that happened, A equals, this is the formula, A equals the actual event. We'll skip B for a second. C is the consequence. It's sort of the result of feeling however, what you feel from that actual event, but they're linked by B. B is the belief.
Mm.
And you have to have a certain belief to feel. And I'll say to Johnny, so how did you feel when I said, geez, Sarah, I like your shoes. In fact, I had a pair just like them, except they disappeared after you were here last time. How did you feel, Johnny, when you heard me say that? And Johnny might say, and or his mother, kind of bad, like mad, upset. And I'll say, okay, well, that's the C. That's how you felt. But they were linked by this belief. What was the B? And then what would you have to believe, Johnny, to feel bad after I said that? Well, that you think my mom stole your shoes. I said, yeah, that's one. Or that your mom hid them, or right. There's a lot of, and we call those the bad Bs, right?
Yeah.
But we don't know, like, and then I play a game with Johnny and his mom, and I'll say, okay, what number am I thinking of right now? And they, I don't know. And I'll say, that's true. You don't know because you're not a mind reader. Are my feet warm or cold right now? And they might say cold because mine are cold. No, actually they're warm. So I then point out you cannot read anyone else's mind. You can say you can, but the truth is, we don't have a high accuracy rate a lot of the time. So Johnny says, the reason he got upset when I said that about his mother's shoes is that he believed I was accusing her or thinking she had stolen the shoes. That's the bad B. And then I'll say, well, Johnny, can you imagine I have scraps of paper and they're in this little hat, and I'll hold a little pretend hat in front of him. Now reach in there and pick a good B, a belief that makes you not feel bad when I make that comment. So I'll do that with you, Rebecca. So imagine here that we've got now reach in my little basket.
Yeah.
And pick a belief that if you think that belief, you kind of feel good when I say, gee, Sarah, I like those shoes. In fact, I had a pair. They disappeared after you were here last time. Now pick a B that leaves you feeling good.
Oh my gosh, we have the same taste.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so neat. Susan and my mom like the same kind of things.
Yeah.
Do you see that it was, the point is that I try and teach children, we do this much more in depth in the membership and in the courses that I teach, but this is like a little taste to start to learn that we have a choice about the meaning we make. So with your son, I might play this game.
Yeah.
That when someone says, dude, you should have blocked that goal.
Yeah.
The bad B, and let's first help him identify what is he thinking and believing, because just that alone gives him some objectivity. It gives him a way to start observing his thinking and its potentially detrimental effect on his mood and feelings. So what might the bad B be, Rebecca? Or you could speak on behalf of your son.
Yeah. Like, oh, I'm terrible at this being goalie, and my teammates think I'm really bad at this.
Right. What's another one, Jacob? Potential Jacob.
Yeah. I shouldn't even be doing this.
Right. Okay. Let's even take it further. Let's just go crazy. Like, what's the worst thing that you can imagine that they're thinking?
None of them even want to ever be my friend.
Yeah.
Or I'm worthless or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, honey. And you know, speaking to Jacob, by the way, I'll call him that. This is called, you know, and I won't go into it today, but you know, we do help children sometimes make friends with the worst case scenario, that we bump up right against the thing we're most fearful is true, so that we can find out we could actually survive that also, or that it may be, you know, punch some holes in it, but we won't do that today. So thank you, Jacob, for sharing some of the things that some of the bad bees, some of the things that make you feel not only that you don't want to play soccer with those kids, you don't even want to go to school.
Yeah.
Am I right, Jacob, in thinking that those things are making, you know, when you believe that, you know, the kids don't want to play with you, or they think you're bad at that game, or they might not want to be your friend, that makes you feel more and more like you don't want to even go to school?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, sweetheart, for telling me kind of what's really going on. It helps me be your mama and be there for you and help you. So I really appreciate it. And I admire you for being so clear.
Yeah.
And then I would teach Jacob, so out of the role play here, I would teach him this idea of the bees, maybe even get scraps of paper and put them on a hat and put some bad bees in there and some good bees in there.
Yeah.
And then you start to experiment, like what, you know, and for those of you listening, hopefully you're following along. All of you, I want you to think of another interpretation of a kid saying, gosh, Jacob, you should have caught that. You should have blocked that. Besides, oh, they hate me, they think I'm terrible. So what's another meaning we could make of a kid saying that to him?
Just like a teammate kind of in the sport, like how you would like, oh, you'll do better next time. Or
right.
Yeah.
Like it's a third grader's version of we're in this together, or like, dude, you know. I remember when my son played basketball, and so I watched feels like thousands of hours of basketball on TV because he's a huge fan, and when growing up that was something we would do sometimes together, and he would sort of sometimes tell me, because you can't always hear what's being said on the court, but the thing of trash talk, it's like that's a thing, and it would totally hurt my feelings. Like I'm so sensitive myself. But when we would play basketball, I started to get into it. And it might be something you do with him. Maybe you could go outside and practice trash talk, not like horrible things, not mean things, not cursing, but just, oh, dude, what do you have eyes in the back of your head? Like, oh my gosh, where's your arm? You know, like just silly. You could get fun with it. And I think those are some of the ways too that you sort of inoculate him. You fortify him to start to have a different experience in his skin when he's playing a sport and that's, you know, going on. What do you think about that?
I just, that is fantastic. I love that. And I can already see like how we would be doing that.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. That's really good.
So, you know, these are ways, I mean, there's a lot we could talk about. There's a lot of other tangents I might go on. I don't want to overwhelm people, and I don't want to overwhelm you. So I kind of want to give you this one idea. Ultimately, though, you know, I think one of the things I am most into doing as we raise children, I think it's a whole section. I have this Parenting Without Power Struggles intensive course, and I devoted a you know, a reasonable chunk to this idea of looking at what we're thinking and believing, and then in turn teaching our children. So the other thing I'll add before we wrap this up is that you can start modeling that for him. So let's say that you're driving in the car and you're catching every red light and you already got a late start and there's a lot of more traffic than you expected, and you're trying to get to a place that might close at 5 and it's like 4:45.
Yeah.
Let him hear the story in your head. Like, oh my gosh, we should have left earlier. I can't believe I took that phone call. I should have gotten offline sooner. I should have told my friend I couldn't talk. Why is there so much traffic? I'm going to be late. And then you can actually externalize your voice and say, you know what, buddy, I just wanted to tell you, I'm working on that thing about the bad bees also. And I'm looking at what I'm believing that's leaving me more tense, more upset, more of a pit in my stomach, more sweaty palms or sweaty pits. It's like, and I'm going to work on it. So you get to watch me, even if I'm late. So the worst case scenario here is I'll be late, the place will have closed. Darn it, I would be upset, but here's how I would, befriend that outcome. Here's how I would be okay with it. Or you could say, well, this story that I'm telling myself that I shouldn't have taken that phone call, and that my friend imposed on me and didn't take the hint when I said I really need to get going, and kept talking, and then I kept talking because I felt so bad. Maybe I can tell a different story, that I feel really kind of great that I prioritized my friend.
Yeah.
Over getting, like, that there's so many ways we can spin something. I mean, that's why after every political debate, you get the spin people. Like,
Right.
how am I supposed to think about the thing that just happened? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's beautiful.
okay. So do you think you could do that too? Start to let him hear some of the bad bees that go on for you, and watch you shift them?
And the bad bees is a new layer to add in. We've never thought about that, and like choosing those beliefs. I love that hat scenario and that role play. Like,
Nice.
Yeah, this was hugely helpful.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna, any final thoughts, words, ideas?
The thought that comes to mind is like that idea that you're driving past that person going 25 miles an hour and you're getting really irritated, and then you realize it's because they have like a 3-layer birthday cake. They have to drive slowly. Like, if you learned that later, like, you're like, oh my God, what a lovely person. They were transporting this cake. Anyway, I thought of that when you thought of that example. So that was front of mind for me. Like,
nice.
You choose that belief.
Yeah.
Because you don't know other people's circumstances.
You really don't.
You really don't.
The other day I was with some friends, and this woman came by in her motorized wheelchair. It was at a Whole Foods, and she had just bought something, and we were all at a table outside, and she started to engage us in conversation. And, the first thought was, oh, there's this older woman, and she's just sort of lonely, and she's chatting, and she said, look at this, I got some ice cream. And I said, wow, that's great. We were all like, well, she said, oh, my son will be upset because I'm a diabetic. And we're thinking, oh gosh, well, okay. But then she goes on to say, I just want to enjoy my life. I've lost two children, and I'm 85. And as her story unfolded, after she left, we just looked at each other and said, we just don't know what's going on for anybody else.
No. Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. Oh my gosh, beautiful. Thank you.
So do you have any kind of final thoughts?
I just think this idea around that bad bees, it helps me because all I really felt like I could say is like, don't take things so personally, or toughen up. Like, there wasn't a lot of words there for me that I felt like I had at my fingertips. So to say, like, let's reach in that hat. Like, what belief are we going to have next time you feel like you were teased?
Right.
It's just such a huge reframe. And I really, being so visual as well, I think it'll really resonate with them.
Awesome. Okay. And thanks so much again for being so brave.
Thank you.